Awesome. Well, welcome. Thank you everyone for taking your time out of your busy scheduled day. I know how it is. So I'm talking about Kahoot through the ages. So as Hannah said, I'm a second grade teacher out in San Antonio, Texas, and I've watched many of the presenters that I've been presenting today, and everyone has some awesome things to say about Kahoot. And then, so if you would like to know more about me, my social media handle is Miss Powell Teaches. And so one way that I utilize Kahoot in my classroom is I like that Kahoot shows me exactly what my students know. So I'm able to figure out when I play a Kahoot, I can go in and look at the reports. I can see this friend maybe missed 2 or 3 questions and they struggled here. And I'm able to pinpoint exactly where the need for my students are. And then I also love that for exit slips at the end of my lessons, I like to play a friendly Kahoot just to see how well the students understood my lesson. So it gives me feedback as well on how I can review it for the next day and help me better plan my lessons in the future as well too. And then another thing I like to do is some of my friends always ask, well, how can I get homework for this specific skill? And I tell them, oh, I can assign a Kahoot for them to complete for homework at home, or they can just try something new. And all of that will allow them to extend the learning past the classroom from when I just see them. And then you'd be surprised. I have some friends who actually play on the weekend and they just want to keep playing, and then they'll share the code with the family and the family gets involved. So it's super fun and cool. So since I've taught so many different grade levels, I can review content from previous grades. So when I first started Kahoot, it was my first year teaching 7 years ago, and then second grade. And then whenever I moved up to the third grade, I was thinking I can still use the same Kahoots that I created in second grade and third grade, especially because each year as you go up, obviously the skills just get deeper into learning. So I'm able to review the past skills each year. So one thing that I can do is at the beginning of the year, all my second grade Kahoots, I'll play in the beginning of third grade, because then I can see where their foundation skills are. I can see this student understands this skill, or if I have a friend that's struggling with addition and subtraction fluency, I can say, okay, this friend, he needs help with fives and mastering sixes and stuff like that. And then the reports is my best friend, because when I go in, I can see how fast some of my friends answered some of the questions. So if I have a timer for 60 seconds, I know that this friend, he had answered in 30 seconds, where another friend might have answered it in 5. So I know how quick their thinking is, or how I can see, okay, maybe I put like a trick question and they got it confused. That's how I use my reports to help me. And then student-driven learning. I love making my kids student-led. So I'm currently teaching second grade right now, and my friends in my classroom are very tech savvy. So I have them say, okay, we are working on addition and subtraction with regrouping. So I have them, I give them an index card and I say, make your own Kahoot slide. So then I give them the index card and they write, okay, how do you solve this problem? Whether it's a word problem, whether it's maybe a drawing they included, and I have them give me multiple choices. And so by doing that, they give me all of their index cards at the end, and then I put them into Kahoot for them to play. And then whenever their Kahoot is on the board, they're like, oh my God, I wrote that Kahoot. They get all excited, and it's very student-led. So it's that ownership of taking care of their learning, their needs, and it's so authentic, and they really love it. So this is how I have my different strategies to help you whenever you start your Kahoots. So keep your Kahoots organized. When I first started utilizing Kahoot, I had my Kahoots kind of like scattered. So whenever I would teach the previous year, I was thinking, where did I remember I played this Kahoot? What was it called? How can I find it again? And so now I have it down by grade levels. So when I go through it, I'm like, okay, I I had an awesome Kahoot on telling time. So I can just go through the folder and talk about, okay, this is my math folder. I just talked about time. Or anything that you could think that you could remember. And then I don't always create all of my Kahoots at home because there's so many wonderful Kahoots that are already created. And I think it's important that we just utilize them. So make sure you favorite them, because in the middle of my lesson, I could be teaching a great lesson and then I'll stop out of nowhere and say, I have a Kahoot for this. I played it last year. And then the kids is like, go find that Kahoot. And then I'm able to relocate it, see it really fast, and then get on and playing. And then when I did Kahoot from anywhere, so when I was teaching, I actually taught 6 years in Hawaii before I came and taught here in the state of Texas. So I recently relocated this past school year. And so when the start of the pandemic happened, I was actually teaching 5th grade. So March 2020, I was 5th grade. And then the following school year, when we were teaching remote, I went down to 2nd grade just because I wanted something different and challenging for myself. So I was able to assign Kahoots for the kids to play in class, and they were all about it. I had some friends that were very concerned about the timer. And so it was an easy fix. I told them, we don't have to have a timer on our self-paced Kahoots, because in reality, it's for their enjoyment. It's for their fun. We don't want them to get discouraged just because we might have friends that take a long time to answer, and we don't want them to feel sad. And so I started taking the timers off in class. When I do it live, obviously the timer is a little bit helpful, because then I don't have to stop my lesson each time and pause. And then I like that students can do it whenever and wherever. So because we were remote learning and we lived on an island, a lot of my kids were doing their Kahoots at the beach. Parents would send me photos of, oh, we just went to go get a new car at the dealership. Like, they did it anywhere. And it was just so funny to see how parents were actively involved in making sure that their student was getting the education as well too. And so I really think that because we did remote learning for so long, we were able to utilize all these resources for our kids and still make learning fun. Yes, it's not as great as if we could all be in person, but they're still having that love and making themselves be aware of their education and caring for their learning as well. So how am I using Kahoots today? So I had to do reading academies this year for the state of Texas. So I was out for 10 days out of the year, so every Thursday of the month. And so I had to make sure, how can I prep my kids to be successful when I'm not here? So that's 10 days. And so I made sure I had my Kahoots ready. So on my sub plan, I literally wrote, the kids will play Kahoot independently. And because they played their Kahoots independently, the sub would ask me, well, what does that look like? So I would always assign my Kahoots on Google Classroom. So I taught my 2nd graders, these are 8-year-old friends here, how to get onto Google Classroom, click the Kahoot, and play the self-paced game. And so for 15 and 20 minutes right after they come after recess during our focused instruction time, they would come in and play. And the best part about it is I can see on my phone while I'm out my friends that are playing, and then they can also comment back to me like saying, hey, I thought this was great. They could give me feedback right away, and then I could respond to them. And it was so surreal experience, because you don't think 8-year-olds can do stuff like this, but when you teach them to be these independent learners, especially because they're going to 3rd grade next year, and 3rd grade is when it's like more independency than what I'm giving them now. So I want them to feel successful and tech savvy with all the programs that we have going on right now. And then this is how I can also have the different types of work as well. I use Kahoot mostly with math, just because math is more more my love language. I love to teach math. Math and science is my jam. And then I've also used Kahoots for my spelling because there's a puzzle feature and I can have the kids practice their spelling without having to feel embarrassed or shame that they don't understand how to spell a word. And then it's more like secretive. So only I can really see it when they need that help and support. And then, so one reason why I feel like I know so much about Kahoot is because I've been on the other side of all of these awesome trainings, all of these workshops. I've been the participant before. So I feel like everything that I've seen over the years, I've gained so much knowledge for myself, and that makes me feel comfortable learning more. And that's what caused me to be a Kahoot verified educator. I thought it was so cool to see other people's Kahoots because as educators, we are all awesome people. We are all doing wonderful things in the classroom. And I think it's so important that we highlight and showcase all of this to all of us. And then just being a Kahoot ambassador is just a cherry on top because I get to talk about the love that I have for this program and just learn from all of you. I've seen all the questions that people have been asking, and it's just so great that we have this community of educators to help with one another and learn from everything. And then the last thing I wanted to talk about is I have an all about me Kahoot. So if you are presenting about yourself at the beginning of the school year, and it's like a better way to introduce yourself, I have an all about me, and it has 20 questions, and it's literally everything that I would talk about with my kids through the whole year. And it gives them a brief overview of how I can show the kids, hey, like this is Miss Powell, this is me, and these are my experiences. And when I tell them I'm from Hawaii, they get all excited, and it kind of opens up the door for them to ask questions. And then we play again the same Kahoot at the end of the year, and then they can see, oh, okay, this is how I've grown with you for over the years, for the whole year, and I understand who you are. And there's just so much that you can do that doesn't have to be always just your typical math, science, reading, social studies subjects. You could just make it your own for yourself too. And thank you. And that's all I have.